Well, this week, our community lost a giant, and I lost a dear friend, Gene Hackman.
Both bodies were absolutely partially mummified. Really gruesome scene that police ended up coming upon the house at the residence.
In the New Mexico residence, both Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy were found deceased in different rooms, a detail that has immediately raised concerns among investigators. The scene was described as gruesome, with the bodies exhibiting clear signs of prolonged mummification and decomposition. Betsy's hands and feet, in particular, were noted to be in a state of decay, indicating that her body had been left unattended for a considerable time before being discovered. This separation of the bodies, found in different parts of the house, adds an additional layer of complexity to the investigation. The timing is also suspicious, with Hackman's pacemaker reportedly showing its last activity on February 17th, nearly 10 days prior to the discovery of the bodies. This gap in time, combined with the advanced state of decay, suggests that the deaths may not have occurred simultaneously, which is unusual for a couple living in the same household. The lack of signs of forced entry and the pristine condition of the rest of the home further deepens the mystery. Every detail at the scene, from the condition of the bodies to the precise locations where they were found, has prompted forensic experts to question whether natural causes can fully explain the situation, or if there might be other contributing factors that have not yet been identified by authorities.
Do you believe it may be possible that that prescription could be related in any way to the deaths that we've seen here?
During the investigation of the residence, it was noted that among the animals present, one dog was found deceased in a kennel, whereas 2 other dogs were alive. This mixed outcome among the pets is highly unusual in a scenario involving a toxic or natural incident, as one would typically expect a uniform response among all animals present. The survival of 2 dogs juxtaposed against the death of another raises questions about the spatial distribution of any potential hazards within the home or differences in how each animal was exposed to whatever may have caused the deaths of the humans. It challenges the theory that a single pervasive agent, such as carbon monoxide poisoning, was responsible, as such an agent would likely affect all animals similarly. Moreover, the condition of the living dogs, coupled with the fact that one animal did not survive, forces investigators to consider whether localized conditions within different parts of the house played a role. This discrepancy has led to extensive deliberations among forensic teams, who are now examining every aspect of the crime scene to determine if there was any selective impact on the living versus the deceased. The situation is further complicated by the fact that no evidence of a carbon monoxide leak or similar hazard has been found, making the survival of the 2 dogs even more puzzling. This stark contrast in outcomes among the animals has become one of the key points fueling public speculation and calls for a more detailed analysis of the environmental factors present at the time of the incident.
So we're looking at that specifically, and other medications, of course, that were possibly in the residence. So that is something of concern.
Leslie, the daughter of the late actor, has emerged as a central figure in the public discussion surrounding the case by openly challenging the prevailing explanations provided by law enforcement. Despite extensive testing and clear statements from investigators that ruled out a carbon monoxide leak as the cause of death, she has been steadfast in her assertion that toxic fumes, specifically carbon monoxide, were responsible for her father's and her mother's passing. Her public pronouncements have been made despite the absence of any supporting evidence from toxicology reports or environmental tests conducted at the scene. This unwavering insistence on a carbon monoxide poisoning theory is particularly significant, given that multiple experts and officials have indicated that the conditions at the house do not support such a cause. By taking her theory directly to the media, most notably through an exclusive interview with a major tabloid, Leslie has not only fueled public speculation, but also raised questions about her possible motives. Some critics argue that her early and definitive statements, made without waiting for the official autopsy and toxicology results, may be an attempt to shape the narrative in a way that suits a predetermined agenda. This situation has created an environment where official findings are pitted against personal beliefs, deepening the mystery and complicating the investigative process. As the investigation continues, the contrast between established forensic evidence and her persistent claims remains one of the most contentious aspects of the case. In a move that deviates markedly from typical family behaviour, following a sudden and tragic loss, Leslie has declared that she will not visit the crime scene in New Mexico until the police have fully completed their investigation. This decision is particularly notable because it contrasts with the norm, where family members usually make immediate arrangements to see their deceased loved ones, collect personal items, and gain some measure of closure. Her steadfast refusal to engage with the scene personally has prompted many to question her motivations, as one would generally expect a grieving family member to be at the scene early on, despite the emotional turmoil. By choosing to maintain a distance until the investigative process is concluded, Leslie is inadvertently contributing to an atmosphere of suspicion. This behaviour has led some to speculate that she might be attempting to control the narrative, or avoid encountering details that might contradict her public statements about the cause of death. Furthermore, her decision to withhold her presence from the scene may also be interpreted as a reluctance to deal with the emotional weight of the event, which in turn could obscure critical insights that only personal observation might provide. The fact that she has not travelled to New Mexico or seen the scene in person has become a focal point for critics who wonder whether there is more to her story than she is willing to share. Such an approach not only complicates the work of law enforcement, but also fuels ongoing debates about what really transpired in the residence. One of the most perplexing aspects of this case lies in the various inconsistencies observed at the crime scene. The discovery of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy in separate rooms, rather than together, deviates from what might be expected in a typical natural death scenario, especially for a couple of their age living in the same residence. This separation immediately raises questions about the timing and sequence of their deaths, suggesting that the events may not have been simultaneous. Additionally, the absence of any forced entry or signs of a break-in further complicates the matter, as it implies that external criminal activity might not be directly responsible. The home itself was left undisturbed, with personal belongings in place and no evidence of a struggle or theft, which would be expected if an intruder had been involved. These observations force investigators to look for explanations that go beyond the conventional. The layout of the home, the locations where the bodies were found, and the lack of any external intervention all contribute to a growing sense of unease among both officials and the public. Each inconsistency, from the room in which each body was discovered to the condition of the environment, demands a thorough forensic analysis. The aim is to piece together whether these anomalies are indicative of an underlying issue that might have led to a series of events, rather than a single, isolated incident. This multifaceted set of clues has significantly complicated the process of determining a clear cause of death. A critical piece of evidence in understanding the sequence of events is the data from Gene Hackman's pacemaker, which reportedly showed its last activity on February 17th, nearly 10 days before the bodies were discovered. This information provides an important temporal marker that suggests a period during which Hackman had already ceased functioning, thus offering a potential timeline for his death. The existence of such a specific time marker is invaluable in forensic investigations, as it helps establish a window during which the death occurred. Adding to the complexity, a concerned neighbour had requested a welfare check after noticing that the couple had not been seen or heard from for some time. This request indicates that there was an early awareness within the community that something was amiss, and it underscores the prolonged absence of any signs of life from the couple. The combination of the pacemaker data and the neighbours' observations creates a timeline that is difficult to reconcile with the expected patterns of natural death, especially given the advanced state of decomposition observed in one or both bodies. The staggered nature of these events, where one death may have preceded the other, further muddies the waters, suggesting that the case might involve a more complex set of circumstances. Investigators are now looking to correlate these findings with other physical evidence in the home to build a coherent narrative that accounts for every anomaly observed at the scene. Among the various elements examined at the crime scene, some details have proven particularly puzzling to investigators. Notably, near Betsy's body, authorities found an open bottle of pills with some medication scattered on the floor, which may indicate that there was a moment of disarray or a disturbance prior to her death. Additionally, a space heater was discovered close to her head, a detail that has sparked further debate about its potential role in affecting the condition of her body. Some speculate that if the heater had tipped over or operated in close proximity to her body, It might have accelerated the decomposition process, although no definitive conclusions have been reached on this point. These elements do not easily fit into the narrative of a straightforward, natural death, as they suggest that there might have been other factors at play. The placement and condition of these items have prompted forensic experts to consider whether they might have been involved in a sequence of events that contributed to the tragic outcome. The scattered medication, in particular, raises questions about whether there was a lapse in the normal routines or care within the household, or whether it might hint at a possible medical error or intervention gone awry. Taken together, these unusual details have added layers of complexity to the investigation, forcing experts to consider every possibility in an effort to reconcile the physical evidence with the overall narrative. An intriguing and controversial element of this case is the rumour that Gene Hackman was on the verge of revealing details about a high-profile client list linked to Jeffrey Epstein. According to some reports, Hackman had grown increasingly frustrated with what he perceived as a cover-up by powerful entities and was allegedly ready to expose these sensitive details publicly. This theory introduces a possible motive for foul play, suggesting that his death might not have been purely coincidental or naturally occurring, but rather the result of deliberate actions to silence him. The notion that an esteemed actor could have been entangled in a web of political intrigue and high-stakes secrecy adds an unexpected dimension to the investigation. While there is no definitive evidence currently linking his death to such conspiracy theories, the persistent rumours have captured public attention and intensified scrutiny of the circumstances surrounding his passing. Hackman's reputed determination to challenge the status quo and expose wrongdoing is now seen by some as a possible catalyst for events that might have led to his untimely demise. Even though official investigations have not substantiated these claims, the mere possibility that his death could be connected to his willingness to confront powerful figures or institutions has kept the theory alive among those following the case. This element of the narrative, regardless of its factual basis, contributes to an environment of uncertainty and distrust, making it a key point of discussion as the investigation continues. In the wake of the tragic deaths, the family's handling of the situation, particularly through the actions of Leslie, has been a subject of intense scrutiny. Instead of cooperating directly with local authorities or engaging in a transparent process, Leslie opted to give an exclusive interview to a major tabloid. This decision is seen by many as an attempt to control the public narrative before all the evidence had been collected and analysed. Typically, families affected by such tragedies would await the outcome of forensic investigations and official reports before speaking out, allowing for a more factual recounting of events. However, by choosing to release her version of events prematurely, Leslie has introduced an element of bias that complicates the ongoing investigation. Her selective disclosure, which emphasises theories not supported by current forensic evidence, has led critics to wonder if there might be undisclosed details or motivations behind her public statements. This approach has not only fueled public skepticism, but has also raised concerns about whether the family is trying to shape public opinion in a way that might divert attention from critical, unanswered questions. The strategic nature of the media interview, combined with the timing of her statements, suggests that there could be additional factors at play that have not been fully revealed. This has made it challenging for investigators to discern objective facts from the narrative being pushed by the family, adding yet another layer of complexity to an already intricate case. As the investigation unfolds, the absence of finalised autopsy and toxicology reports has left the cause of death shrouded in uncertainty. Despite thorough examinations conducted by law enforcement and the involvement of multiple forensic teams, no definitive cause of death has yet been established for either Gene Hackman or his wife Betsy. Although early indications have ruled out possibilities such as carbon monoxide poisoning, despite some public speculation, the complete picture remains elusive pending further medical analysis. The pending reports are expected to provide critical insights into whether drugs, pre-existing conditions, or other unknown factors may have played a role in the deaths. This gap in confirmed evidence has allowed for ongoing debate and speculation, both among professionals and in the public arena. At the same time, the legacy of Gene Hackman is being celebrated by colleagues and celebrities from Hollywood who have paid tribute to his contributions to the film industry through personal remembrances, and public statements. These tributes underscore the profound impact he had on his peers and the lasting impression of his work. However, the public's desire for a clear and definitive explanation remains unfulfilled as investigators continue to collect and analyze evidence. With each new piece of information, the case takes on additional dimensions, ensuring that both the mystery of the deaths and the enduring memory of Hackman will be topics of intense discussion and analysis for the foreseeable future.